Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel. And in our top stories today, the continuing battle that is going on with Donald Trump, who is the chief executive. And we have here from AP News, Supreme Court allows Trump to restart swift deportation of migrants away from their home countries. In other words, if their home country won't accept them, they can send them to an alternate country within that area. A divided Supreme Court on Monday allowed the Trump administration to restart swift removal of migrants to countries other than their homeland, lifting for now a court order requiring they get a chance to challenge the deportations. The high court majority did not detail its reasoning in the brief order. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, joined by the other two liberal justices, issued a scathing dissent. So in other words, they gave an opinion about it. Department of Homeland Security spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin suggested third country deportations could restart soon. Fire up the deportation plane, she said in a statement, calling the decision a victory for the safety and security of the American people. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when you hear the Democrats talk about a constitutional crisis, maybe this is what they mean. Is this what they really mean? We have a rogue federal judge here from the Federalist openly defies Supreme Court ruling on deportation of violent criminal illegals. Now, I would say the word defies kind of defines basically what the Democrats are doing, other than obstructing, right? Because when it came to them, for example, when Joe Biden said that he wanted to forgive student debt, the Supreme Court would not allow him, and they were going to defy it, or they were going to reword it, is what he was saying. They were going to redefine the terminology and the wording, of course, so that they could find some way to do it. Now, it never really occurred, but nonetheless, here we have this rogue judge who was appointed 6 months after, 6 points after Biden was nominated, stating, the court May 21st, 2025 order on remedy remains in full force and effect, notwithstanding today's stay of the preliminary injunction. The district court's remedial order were not properly before the Supreme Court because the government has not appealed them or sought a stay pending on forthcoming appeal. Now, let me break that legalese language down. And what he's saying is that the Supreme Court ruling 6-3 here, as you see, that is going to now allow Donald Trump to continue, was not properly presented to an appellate court for an appeal. In other words, there was a stay, right, that was going to block it. But then the process beyond that would be, and this is the process, right? The process is the Democrats find a rogue judge like this to issue a stay. In other words, to challenge it legally so that it has to be reviewed and then viewed by an appellate court, or in this case, by the Supreme Court. But what he's trying to say is, even though the Supreme Court ruled on this, Trump didn't go through, or the admin didn't go through the process of going to an appellate court for an appeal. So you see the game that's being played here. This isn't about solving a legal problem, ladies and gentlemen. This is about using law, having your ability as a judge, federal judge or other, to simply what's called, like, say, file a complaint. In other words, you're going to just file because you simply can. It's like if you're a gatekeeper in a private community, and then the community hires you since you live near the gate to decide who can come in and who can come out. And so it's up to you. And then if the majority says, hey, we want you to open the gate even though you don't want to, that you got to open the gate. So basically what they're trying to do here is they're just trying to make it more difficult for Donald Trump to basically do his job. These are stumbling blocks. These are obstructions. It's ridiculous. And now you can see, if they want to talk about constitutional crisis, this is it. A rogue judge or rogue judges just defy Supreme Court ruling. He's just like, no, the admin did not go through the proper appellate process to get it appealed. So therefore, he's trying to suggest that it stands. But you see here, the rogue ruling came just hours after the Supreme Court agreed 6-3 that the Trump administration, at least temporarily, and that's the point here, can deport illegals, aliens convicted of violent crimes to third countries. And so, ladies and gentlemen, constitutional crisis is right here. When you have a country where a party is defying everything the president is doing as the chief executive, as we saw almost happen as well when it came to him acting as the commander-in-chief with the strikes there in Iran, right? They were on the verge. They had everything prepared to impeach him if everything there had gone sideways. And fortunately, at least to an extent, there's a ceasefire right now. Of course, they're kind of, Iran and Israel are going kind of back and forth on who can have the last word, right? Kind of like the old barroom fight on who can get the last word or the last swing or whatever right before they're separated. Or as they're separated, they want to get the last word in. And that's kind of what we're looking at here. And then, of course, here on X, and, of course, you can find all my social media links below this video if you want to follow me on any of these platforms. SCOTUS has finally weighed in on the insane rogue judges enacting of judicial coup. And that's one way of describing it, too, as a coup. It's just basically obstruction, right? This allows Trump to restart swift orders or removals of illegal aliens to countries other than their homelands, which is what we just talked about. But a lot of this was on the 23rd. This article's on the 24th. But nonetheless, Trump is going to continue doing what he's doing, as Tricia said over here, that they were going to go ahead and do that. But this is, ladies and gentlemen, when you want to talk about a constitutional crisis, if you're not going to allow the chief executive to do his job as chief executive or even as commander-in-chief, you got a problem. And I think the American people are smart enough, capable enough to understand that they do understand what's going on. And, of course, I'm not sure why the Federalists would have used all this confusing language here, but he just wanted to outline exactly what the judge said. But like I said, in this confusing legalese language here, is he's saying that the Trump administration did not go through the appellate process to appeal his stay or any of these particular stays that are being issued to basically obstruct Donald Trump. But let me know down in the comments section, what are your thoughts and opinions on this continuing absurd, ridiculous lawfare, as we saw with Donald Trump with the lawfare, what happened in New York, because I still want that to be resolved by Pam Bondi. That was prosecutorial misconduct all the way. And what you're seeing here is you're just seeing a bunch of judges just misbehaving because they have the office, they have the position, they can file the paperwork, right? Like I said, as you the gatekeeper there in a private community, you're the one who decides who can or can't go through the gate until the majority says, hey, you need to open that gate for this, that, the other person, and then you the rogue judge is like, I'm not opening the gate. It's not going to happen. Make me do it, right? And it's the same attitude that we talked about here on the channel about the Democrats' attitude, right? And that was always, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? And for a long time, they were able to do something about it because they had the establishment behind them. But nonetheless, guys, let me know what your thoughts are down in the public section of this craziness. Will this ever end? Will it just be a constant legal battle to stop Donald Trump? And at what point do you think this was all just going to be a devastating blow to the Democrats? I think maybe in 2026, if the GOP can hold on to the House and the Senate, this will be like the final blow of the Democrats, maybe. But sometimes, you get a cornered animal and they just fight even harder. But I do appreciate all of your guys' continued support. That's BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey. You guys have been amazing. Below this video, you can find the various social media links that I belong to. You are welcome to follow me on there so you can keep up with what I post across those. As well as those who order frequently from Amazon or a Prime member, you can use my landing page link. It is private. Your privacy is protected, and your privacy online is also protected if you use a VPN, Trust Zone, which is one of my favorites. No fuss, gets you right to what you want to do. But thank you guys so very much for your continued support. Appearing there on the screen, I'd be the channel icon for everyone who is watching specifically on YouTube. You guys can click on that to subscribe, as well as to select notifications. That way you know when there's content here on the channel. And I'll see all you guys in the next video.